They called him the boy who hacked NASA. Not a spy. Not a terrorist. Just a 15-year-old kid, sitting alone in his bedroom, somewhere in South Florida, armed with nothing but an old computer, a dial-up connection, and an unstoppable curiosity. Note, this video is created for educational and documentary purposes only. It does not promote or glorify criminal activity, violence, or illegal behavior. Jonathan James wasn't trying to cause trouble. He wasn't in it for money or fame. He just loved the challenge, the thrill of discovering what others said was impossible. To him, hacking wasn't crime. It was creation. Every night after school, while others were out playing basketball or watching TV, Jonathan sat in front of his glowing screen. Lines of green code filled his monitor, like another language only he could understand. He wasn't playing games anymore. He was exploring a digital universe. At first, it started small. A school computer here. A simple security test there. But with every firewall he bypassed, his confidence grew. Soon, curiosity became obsession. And obsession led him somewhere no teenager should ever go. Inside the servers of the United States government. In 1999, one ordinary night, Jonathan slipped into a system that felt different. The encryption was tougher. The firewalls were endless. But that only made him more determined. He had no idea that what he was breaking into was NASA. He was just 15, sitting in his room, typing commands that echoed across continents. And with one keystroke, he was inside. Behind those digital walls lay something extraordinary. Software used to control the temperature, humidity, and oxygen aboard the International Space Station. He didn't damage it. He didn't sell it. He simply downloaded it to see if he could understand how it worked. For a moment, Jonathan felt like the smartest person alive. He had done what no one else could, and no one even knew. But that feeling didn't last long. A few days later, NASA engineers noticed strange activity. Files missing. Systems behaving oddly. It wasn't a glitch. It was an intrusion. When they traced it, the path led not to a rival nation, not to an organized hacker group, but to a single house in South Florida. The FBI moved quickly. They watched him for days. Every message, every connection. They couldn't believe that a kid had breached NASA and the Department of Defense. And then, before sunrise one morning, they came. Black SUVs rolled up the street. Agents surrounded the house. Jonathan's parents woke to the sound of shouting. FBI! Open the door! In seconds, his room, once filled with quiet curiosity, became a crime scene. The computer was seized. Hard drives confiscated. And Jonathan James, the boy who hacked NASA, was placed under arrest. The media went wild. Teenage hacker breaks into NASA. 15-year-old breaches government security. To the world, he was a criminal genius. But to those who knew him, he was just a kid who wanted to understand how things worked. NASA shut down their systems for 3 whole weeks to investigate and repair the damage. The cost of recovery? Over $40,000. But the real damage was to Jonathan's life. He was sentenced to house arrest, 6 months of probation, and a lifetime ban from using computers. For someone whose world revolved around technology, that felt like a prison sentence all its own. Still, he tried to move on. He finished school quietly. He stayed out of trouble. But the internet never forgot him. His name had become legend, the boy who outsmarted the most powerful technology agency on Earth. Years later, when another massive cybercrime investigation swept across America, Jonathan's name was dragged into it, even though he denied any involvement. The stress, the pressure, and the feeling that the world would never see him as anything more than the hacker began to take its toll. In 2008, tragedy struck. Jonathan James, once the youngest hacker ever convicted in the United States, took his own life. He was just 24. His suicide note was short, but haunting. He wrote, "I honestly see no other way out." Some say he was pushed too far. Others say he was simply a victim of a system that never understood his brilliance. But one thing is certain. Jonathan James changed how the world looked at hackers, and how the government looked at the digital frontier. He wasn't a villain. He wasn't a hero. He was a mind too curious for the boundaries around him. A boy who reached for the stars, and accidentally touched NASA. In a world where knowledge is power, sometimes the ones who ask the most questions end up paying the highest price. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you love this story.